Mugello's idyllic location in a region of Italy renowned for amazing landscapes, gourmet food and world-famous art makes it a magnet for MotoGP fans travelling from all four corners of the globe. The hillsides have come alive as we await to see who's going to create more magic Mugello memories, with Ralph Fernandez hunting a shock win double. It's time to race in MotoGP. So the wonderful Mugello circuit celebrating 50 years of Grand Prix racing here. Our first all the way back in 1976, won by Barry Sheene. A real old school track. We had the new top speed record set here yesterday at 230 miles an hour. Aprilias were blitzing down the long start finish straight on the long run down to San Donato. Heavy braking into the first corner. Spectacular undulation through 6 and 7, Casanova and Cervelli. The long sector 3 includes the fast right hands of Arrabbiata 1 and 2. And it's all about the edge grip and the drive coming out of turn 15 to get the slingshot down. The second longest start-finish straight on the Grand Prix calendar. Overtaking hotspots, well, there are quite a lot of them. As you can see, the most favoured one with the slipstream and the tough braking zone for the first corner. What a battle this was early on last year, with Pecco Bagnaia going toe-to-toe with the Marquez boys. Record-breaking day for Aprilia in qualifying yesterday as they locked out the front row of the grid for the very first time in their history. Marco Bezzecchi had a poor start away from pole position, dropped back to 6th place at one point before he recovered to 4th. What a shot that was. MotoGP at its very, very best, 4 abreast through San Donato. It was Ralph Fernandez who would quickly work his way to the front ahead of the fast-starting Marc Marquez, who did lead briefly on the brakes into the first corner. And for the first time in the sprint era, Ralph Fernandez and Trackhouse Aprilia take the gold medal and the 12 points. What lies in store though now for Fernandez and the world's best riders, set to do battle on the world's fastest racetrack. It's glorious sunshine, it's baking heat, and we are set for some spectacular action once again in the Brembo Grand Prix of Italy. Where has the time gone? We are already at Chapter 7 in this year's World Championship, and under clear blue skies. What a shot that is. The scenic and spectacular background of the Tuscany Mountains. Right in the heart of them lies the magnificent Mugello. 5.245 kilometers, 3.259 miles, the fastest racetrack in MotoGP history. Who's going to be fastest though at the end of our 23-lap Grand Prix of Italy, coming your way in just over 40 minutes time, in the company of Matt Burtley, who should have been in the commentary box, Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. Ralph Fernandez then taking the spoils at the end of our 11-lap sprint yesterday. The Spanish rider taking his first sprint win in his 66th attempt, just his 4th Saturday afternoon podium. Fair play to Raul. Once he got to the front in that sprint yesterday, he was dominant. He took the checker flag 1.2 seconds clear of Jorge Martin, who extends his record sprint podium tally now up to 34. Perhaps more crucially, as far as Martin's concerned, this having blitzed through the speed traps at nearly 370 kilometers an hour yesterday, he took 3 points back on his factory Aprilia teammate Marco Bezzecchi in the World Championship. So on home turf for Aprilia, 9 points split, Bezzecchi and Martin at the top of the leaderboard. What can Ducati do in response, having been beaten in a sprint here in Mugello for the first time? Fabio Di Gianantonio once again was their lead star, their lead rider, 3rd over the line in yesterday's sprint.
And once again, hot-footed and hot-footing it on his way into the Aprilia boxes, the old pole sitter. Let's hope he can start as quickly as he entered the Aprilia box. Marco Bezzecchi, it's clear to see where his sprint hopes went wrong and went south yesterday. As he gives us, and I'm sure as many fans both here and around the world, a wave. It was off the line and down into San Donato. The start itself was actually quite fine, but he braked too early, was too cautious on that first braking experience. Lost 3 places, was 4th through the first quarter, and then dropped further ground. He was passed by Fabio Di Giannantonio and was way down in the bottom reach of the top 6 by the time the first lap was completed. It was never going to be easy to win the sprint from there, and I'm expecting Marco Bezzecchi to exude a little bit more aggression when he heads down to San Donato in around about 40 minutes time at the start.
The start wasn't bad. Look at that, he was actually briefly leading. Got his nose in front of Ralph Fernandez on the run down the first corner, and then while everybody around him was uber aggressive on the brakes into San Donato, rather unexpectedly, Bezzecchi was just a little bit caught off guard, wasn't he? A little bit too cautious, dropped himself back down to 6th place, recovered to 4th. So it remains in our opening 7 sprints so far this season, just the 1 podium for Marco Bezzecchi. On the other side of the factory Aprilia garage, Jorge Martin racked up his 4th Saturday afternoon podium, and we know how key it was sprint podiums and sprint wins that proved so crucial for Martin in his fight with Pecco Bagnaia for glory in the 2024 MotoGP World Championship. Bezzecchi though does tend to get stronger as the weekend goes on. He has not finished lower than 4th in any Grand Prix so far this weekend, and he'll be looking for a bit of payback after yesterday.
Yeah, from pole position, where of course he did win, led from the front and won comfortably in Buriram at the start of the season. Generally, of course, with Le Mans being the one obvious exception, when Bezzecchi leads at the end of lap 1, he leads at the end of the final lap, and that will for sure be his modus operandi here this afternoon on an all Aprilia front row at the Italian Grand Prix. Of course, so often we come to Mugello when we're talking all about the Bologna bullets, we're talking all about Ducati as the dominant force, but it is their fellow Italians from Nuale, it's Aprilia, who have taken over Mugello.
That young fan there. Ciao mama, hello mum. How are you? Are you watching at home? I'm sure she is. What a day out for that young fan. Full gas, no favourites. That fan there loving all of our fastest riders in the world. Just a little bit of early housekeeping. If you are joining us for the first time this weekend, a rather tweaked MotoGP lineup for this Grand Prix of Italy. No Johann Zarco, unfortunately, after his horrible crash in one of the restarts over in Barcelona, involving actually Luca Marini, as you can see on screen. A lengthy period on the sidelines coming for Johann Zarco, who's going to, we believe, have surgery on a rather seriously damaged left knee in a couple of weeks' time, or maybe even next week. His place taken by Cal Crutchlow, and Michele Pirro in for Alex Marquez. Alex with a fractured collarbone and a fracture in his neck, ruled out this weekend and in Hungary next time out. Michele Pirro replacing him here today.
That was the instant which saw Luca Marini drop 3 places on the grid. Jorge Martin not amused, nor were the stewards when they took a closer look at that after free practice 2 yesterday morning. Luca Marini, who had qualified 16th, goes down to 19th on the grid for his home Grand Prix, so he has got a major mountain to climb.
What a shot, what a sight that is. Look at all the umbrellas. The older sunscreen's going to be getting a workout here today in Mugello. It is super, super hot. A lot of the fans that have come through the gates here today, well, their allegiance will be with the number 63. Mugello winner in MotoGP in 2022, 2023 and in 2024. We saw how crestfallen Pecco Bagnaia was here last year when he missed out on the podium. He was the odd one out in an all Ducati top 4 here 1 year ago, beaten by both Alex and Marc Marquez and ultimately Fabio Di Giannantonio. That really did sting for the former MotoGP world champion. We've seen some great celebrations from him here in the past, eating the hot dog, the rock and roll kiss celebrations where he got a special message off the lead man Gene Simmons. He's got his work cut out coming from row 2.
Diogo Moreira, who's going to be coming from row 3, didn't exactly stop him yesterday, did it? At the start of the sprint, as he got aggressive and overtook his mentor, and I guess in many respects his hero, Marc Marquez. Diogo Moreira did say after the sprint yesterday that he wanted at least once in his career to overtake Marc Marquez so he could have a photo of it to take home and put up on his wall. And I don't know whether you're going to see the footage shortly, but you can certainly find it on MotoGP social media channels. He was before the rider parade this morning, presented with a poster of the picture of him him essentially ahead of Marc Marquez in the teaser sprint yesterday, which Marc Marquez, with a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek insult on the message which he signed for Diogo Moreira. What an experience it must have been for the Moto2 champion yesterday. As high as third as 1 point. I don't think he'll care too much that he slipped out of the points, because he certainly demonstrated his extraordinary talents yesterday.
He went all in, he went gung-ho. Here he is then, Marc Marquez, just prior to the Sunday morning rider parade. They're having a proper good laugh about it, aren't they, the two of them? They are really close. Talent, recognising talent there. 7 times MotoGP world champion, just signing that special photo for our reigning Moto2 world champion. Bit of banter pre-race there. They are close, they are training partners back at home in Spain. Diogo Moreira has been by far the leading light for Honda so far this weekend. It's been a real tough Italian Grand Prix for the factory Hondas. Drammy having to retire yesterday with a serious vibration issue from his Michelin rear tyre. Luca Marini was suffering off the pace. Although Drammy was top 6 in the warm session this morning, so maybe he can bounce back, as Pecco Bagnaia with a bit of a mishmash of Ducati's favourite liveries from the past as they celebrate in their home Grand Prix. Of course, Ducati's HQ about an hour's drive away on the outskirts of Bologna at Borgo Panigale. A representation of, I think, 10 of their best liveries to mark 100 years. What a centenary year it could be for Ducati.
Yeah, the liveries of the Collezioni 100, as they're describing it. The names of every Ducati employee are also on that bike, as a collective thank you to the Borgo Panigale community as they turned their dream into a reality. It was a dream day yesterday for Raul Fernandez, and a sprint win which also came with a dose of emotion too, given what appears to be going on outside the racetrack for Raul Fernandez and the question marks surrounding his MotoGP future beyond the end of this season. But he certainly proved a major point to those outside, and certainly to himself yesterday.
Brilliant decision, a decision that was matched by Jorge Martin as well, to opt for that Michelin medium rear tyre in that sprint yesterday. Those two that did gamble on the medium rear, well, they were first and second and dominant at the front of that sprint. Here is Jorge Martin. What a moment it was for him on Friday, but he did 368.6 kilometres an hour on the long run down to the first corner, aided by a bit of a slipstream and a tailwind, but he will not care one bit. Now we'll be able to take that record away from him unless we get some slipstream action this afternoon. Yet another bronze medal, his third sprint podium of the season for the super consistent and super fast Fabio Di Gianantonio. Let's go down onto the grid though. Federico Chiesa, Italian footballing star, on the grid right now with Jack.
Yeah, Italy star, Liverpool star, Federico Chiesa making his first appearance to MotoGP. I know you're a big fan of the sport, and in particular have a great relationship with Pecco, whose box we're standing in front of. So how much are you enjoying Mugello today?
No, it's incredible. I lived in Florence, I grew up in Florence. I've always heard about Mugello, the experience, about the sport in general, and I've always wanted to take part, you know, to be here and enjoy this time, and I'm grateful and honored to be here, and I have to thank Pecco because he gave me the tickets. I have to thank him now, but it's great, and actually I don't want to bother him too much because he has to be concentrating on the race, and so I don't want to, you know, that's why I'm standing a bit on the side. But yeah, great experience, actually fantastic, amazing, and it's actually beautiful to see such a place in Italy. You know, usually we see these kind of places elsewhere, and but to live this kind of experience in Italy, in my home country, is just amazing.
Pre-match you have to focus so much ahead of stepping out into Anfield, but to jump on board a bike that goes nearly 230 miles an hour, can you compare it in any way?
I cannot imagine what they're going through. I mean, it's so different. It's very different. I mean, the preparation to the race. They're by themselves out there. I mean, we're in a team of 11 players. It's a bit different. Yeah, but actually that's why I don't want to bother him too much. Yeah, but it's really great. It's really an unbelievable experience.
It's great to see you here. Hope you enjoyed the day.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic, brilliant. I love that interview, and I'm glad to hear Federico Chiesa enjoying his MotoGP experience. Of course, yeah, Liverpool Premier League football star. He's been capped over 50 times by the Italian national team, and if you're wondering why he's so closely connected to Pecco Bagnaia, well, he's a former Juve star, a former Juventus player, and we know that when it comes to football, Pecco Bagnaia loyal to Juventus. So great to hear Federico Chiesa enjoying his afternoon in the sunshine here in the Italian Grand Prix.
Yeah, there are a few stars of Italian sport here today. We know the Formula One World Championship leader, Kimi Antonelli, 4 consecutive victories, of course, on 4 wheels, is also here today. We're hoping to hear from him during the course of our pre-race build-up as we take a look at Ayagura, the other side of the Trackhouse story from yesterday. Of course, he didn't make it through to qualifying 2, as Raul Fernandez did in that tough Q1 session, which ultimately saw only one of them go through alongside Pedro Acosta. So Agura come from 13th on the grid, but did get himself up into the points yesterday. 8th place at the checkered flag for I, and we generally do see him go forward from grid to finish.
He's been a bit left out so far in what's been a stellar weekend as far as Aprilia go. That all Aprilia front row of the grid. Agura will be hoping to maybe get in that battle with Fernandez, Martin and Bezzecchi. One rider who is growing in confidence and certainly growing in stature and upping his pace and his speed right now. Thumbs up for Fermin Aldeguer on the podium for the first time out, last time in that chaotic Catalunya battle. And he's been strong all weekend. 5th place, he will be on the grid. Top 6 in a couple of practice sessions as well. It seems like he and his crew chief Frankie Carcetti have started to work out the puzzle, how they can get the best out of that year-old hand-me-down Ducati GP25. Interesting, he can make the start here out again, get away with that lead group. Wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe fighting for the top 5 where he starts, and maybe even better, because he is definitely, as mentioned, growing in confidence.
He was great yesterday, Aldeguer, when I spoke to him in our MotoGP VIP village and asked him about the feeling of hitting 360+ kilometers an hour just before you head to San Donato, and he said it felt at times like the bike's about to take off, as if I'm about to start flying when you come over that crest over towards San Donato. Of course, these MotoGP bikes nowadays have so much aero pushing them into the ground to stop that from happening. Frankie Morbidelli, who you just saw there on screens, goes from the back of the 3rd row, and we'll be looking to right some wrongs from yesterday in the sprint when he crashed out after a poor start, was outside the points and ultimately fell at turn 10.
We're talking about fast riders in Mugello. Nobody was faster than Frankie in the Italian Grand Prix here last year. He did set the fastest lap in the race for just his 2nd time in his MotoGP career. He'll be looking for some of similar speed to fire himself up into contention once again in front of his home crowd, as we look at a young man who has a very bright future indeed. Diogo Moreira on the Pro Honda LCR machine, missing out on a point scoring finish in the sprint yesterday by a 2nd. But he was awesome, wasn't he, at the start? Very, very aggressive. You can just see him there right in the middle of the picture. Straight away, he's darted through on Aldeguer and the Gian Antonio ahead of him. And then he's going to just start picking his way through on the exit of San Donato. He was already up into P4. And then he started making mincemeat of the likes of Marc Marquez ahead of him, as Raul Fernandez then ultimately took the checkered flag. What a moment this is for Raul Fernandez. He was quite simply phenomenal, wasn't he? A rider who literally is riding for his future at the moment. All kinds of talk that he's been moved on by Trackhouse, because that was not a scene that we saw at the end of the Catalan Grand Prix a couple of weeks ago. It was all smiles yesterday between Aprilia Racing CEO Massimo Rivola and current Trackhouse boss Davide Brivio, but there has been behind the closed doors meetings. That was on Thursday. All 4 Aprilia riders were called to a special summit by Nawali factory management, where after a couple of controversial moments over in Barcelona, Marco Bezzecchi, Jorge Martin, Raul Fernandez and Ayagura were sat down and told in no uncertain terms, gentlemen, we expect you to race hard, we expect you to race aggressive, but we also expect you to be clean, and more importantly, we expect you to be respectful.
Yes, we don't want to see 2 or more of you taking each other out of Grand Prix, because Aprilia in the end did not win the Catalan Grand Prix. It was a Ducati, Fabio Gian Antonio, that took those honours when Jorge Martin, I think that was the source of a lot of his anger after the Grand Prix in Barcelona. He felt that the way the race was panning out with the 2 restarts, that race could have potentially had his name on it. Aprilia will be hoping that any potential animosity and tension has firmly been put to bed now. Everyone was best friends yesterday after the sprint, but of course they do start 1, 2 and 3 on the grid alongside each other, and all will be desperate to get to San Donato first on that run down from the grid. So potentially Aprilia top brass will have their hearts in their mouths once again.
Luca Marini might need some family favours, some brotherly love to keep him on the grid in MotoGP next season. We know he is surplus to requirements released by the factory Honda team for 2027, the new 850cc powered era in the top class. He's one of 4 Italians that are in contention with Frankie Morbidelli, Nicolo Bulega and Celestino Vietti for a second seat in the VR46 Ducati squad next season. So some family loyalty might be seriously tested in the next few weeks or months or so. So Marc Marquez getting himself set for what was going to be his first Grand Prix appearance since his heavy crash when trying to go with brother Alex in the Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez. Of course, his last competitive action before yesterday was in the Le Mans sprint before he suffered that vicious high side, which resulted in the requirement for surgery to repair a fracture in his right foot. Even on this morning's rider parade, Mark was still having to come to the parade bus with a special protective boot on that right foot, but I think it's the shoulder over 23 laps, which is going to cause Mark maybe the biggest problems. No question he is getting back to full fitness, but he's not quite there yet, Lewis.
No, and he did say yesterday he did feel like he did have a little less energy, perhaps a little bit more tired. That's going to be natural given what he's been through. Nothing quite prepares you for riding a MotoGP bike like riding one of them. You can do all the training you can in the gym, you can cycle as much as you want, you can do as much running as you want, but nothing quite prepares you for riding a motorcycle around a circuit such as this, the most physical on the calendar. We saw at the start of the sprint yesterday, it's clear that the racing instincts are very much still there for Marc Marquez. The magic and the talent has not gone anywhere as he went from 4th to the lead at the start, but he's going to have to, I guess, just race to the limit of his body today, wherever that ends up being, whether that's the podium, whether that's the top 10. I don't think Marc Marquez is going to push himself beyond his limits today.
What he did say, and he said it all season long, the Ducati is a winning motorcycle. It is a motorcycle that's capable of fighting for the World Championship. The problem is, at no stage in 2026 so far has Marc Marquez been the rider to exploit the maximum potential out of what he clearly feels is a Desmos Adichie GP26 that is good enough to be giving Aprilia a few more headaches than what they have been having so far this year. We can't really make any kind of accurate, serious judgment, can we, or assessment on Marc when he tells us, okay, yeah, now I do feel like I'm back to fully recovered. Marc Marquez, is he going to maybe be in the fight for his 100th Grand Prix? A winning journey which started all the way back here in Mugello back in 2010. A 125cc victory which at that stage started to propel Marc Marquez to fame and fortune and racing stardom. A 7 times MotoGP world champion, maybe a future Formula 1 world champion. What a purple patch Kimi Antonelli is currently having. Let's get his thoughts down on the grid with Jack.
Yeah, great to once again welcome Kimi back to MotoGP, and you come back in quite the moment for Italian motorsport. You're leading the Formula 1 World Championship, Marco leading the MotoGP World Championship. Just describe the emotion that's within Italy at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Italy is living a great moment so far, and you know, the goal is to keep going like this. Of course, you know, there's also other sports where Italian sportsmen are doing incredible. You know, Yannick Sinner is doing incredible in tennis as well, and also in Winter Olympics, Italy did amazing. So, of course, it's a great moment, and the goal is to keep carrying Italy onto the top of the stage. So, yeah, we're doing our best, but. Yeah, today is an amazing day to be here in Mugello for MotoGP, and I'm really happy.
We know you have a great relationship with the Academy guys. How often are you speaking with Marco? Of course, he leading the championship for the first time, the same to you, going through similar experiences. Have you spoken about what you're living through right now and how vital that relationship might be as we go into the latter stages of the year?
Yeah, I mean, we do talk before and after every weekend, and you know, it's cool because we support each other, and actually we share a lot of positive energy to each other, and we also kind of push each other, you know, to go on track and do even better. And it's great because as a driver, when you see a friend doing so well as well on your side, you want to do as good or even better. So yeah, it's great to see, and obviously I'm very happy to have such a relationship.
I imagine hoping for an Italian win today?
Yeah, of course. Hopefully we can hear the Italian national anthem.
Great to see you here. Enjoy the day, Kim.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful once again to be graced by the presence of Kimi Antonelli, Formula One World Championship leader, enjoying the best run of his racing career at the moment. 4 successive Formula One victories, the most recent last time out in Montreal in Canada. Again, very much a close ally of Valentino Rossi and the whole VR46 Academy stable. He'll certainly be cheering on Marco Bezzecchi. Let's go down then to one of the stars of yesterday's sprint, Diogo Moreira. Can he repeat it in the Grand Prix? Let's get some thoughts from Jack.
Yeah, getting my steps in on the grid today. Diogo, what a performance it was yesterday. You've now, courtesy of this morning, got the photo signed by Mark. The next photo, I guess, is first MotoGP podium. Is that a possibility?
Today will be difficult, no? At the end, you know, will be a long race. We just need to finish the race, because at the end we need to get hours, you know, but yeah, should be a good one for us today.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Diogo Moreira. All the pretty front row then for the first time in MotoGP history.
Yep, it's Bezzecchi from Fernandez from Martin. Then we have Marquez, Aldeguer and Bagnaia on an old Ducati Road 2. Gian Antonio, the Moreira who just heard from, and Morbidelli 9th, completing Row 3. Pedro Acosta first KTM. He's ahead of Enea Bastianini, who crashed out of the sprint yesterday. Alex Rins, the first Yamaha on the grid, in 12th. Iagora 13th from Brad Binder and Juan Mir. Jack Miller, Fabio Quartararo and Maverick Vinales all promoted up a place by the 3-place penalty for Luca Marini. Topa Razgatlioglu 20th, ahead of Michele Pirro and Cal Crutchlow, who makes his 180th MotoGP start today at the age of 40. Every rider, it would appear at the moment, is going for the medium rear tyre.
Understandably so, given how well that performed over the short format in yesterday's sprint. Great choice that was, wasn't it, by Ralph Sanders. He was committed from Saturday morning. He said after the sprint win yesterday, I told my trackhouse crew the medium's the only option for me to be competitive in that 11-lap sprint yesterday. What a choice that was. Fabio Di Gianantonio said Ducati, no Ducati rider, certainly he didn't even remotely consider running the medium in that 11-lap sprint yesterday. But as you can see, straight shootout in terms of the Michelin rubber. All riders, all 22 of them, medium front, medium rear tyre, just how we like it. It was a very busy and packed grid here in Mugello. Blazing sunshine ahead of this Brembo Grand Prix. Obviously there is Kimi Antonelli, the Formula One World Championship leader. What a star here. What a talent it is, as Jack mentioned, to be a fan of the Italian motorsport, whether it be 2 or 4 wheels. With Antonelli leading the Formula One World Championship, Marco Bezzecchi leading the MotoGP World Championship. Fabio Di Gianantonio, though, has been a pretty persistent thorn in the side of the Aprilia so far this year, hasn't he? Can he do it again here in Mugello? Let's get the thoughts of VR46 boss Pablo Nieto with Jack.
Yeah, Fabio, Italy's leading hope yesterday from the 3rd row of the grid. There's an expectant crowd here, Pablo. Can he do the same again?
Yeah, yesterday was a fantastic race. We know that it's very difficult to start from 3rd row, but anyway, and today's another day, another race. It's going to be much more important the first 2 laps. Try to make a very good start, first laps, and then we will see what happens during the race.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, Di Gianantonio came charging through. Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Pablo Nieto. From 7th on the grid to yet another sprint podium yesterday. I love that interview, all that behind-the-scenes footage we got with him and Valentino Rossi after his brilliant success. The winner, of course, of our most recent Grand Prix in Catalonia. We expect Digia to be off to the Red Bull KTM factory team next year. Valentino Rossi saying, are you sure you want to leave? Well, that man knows what it was like to lap fast around Mugello. Loris Capirossi, now part of MotoGP Race Direction. Another Italian who was super quick hitting Mugello. He was here yesterday as well as part of the new Baggers World Cup. It is the maniac himself, Andrea Iannone with Jack.
Yeah, great to have Andrea down here on the grid. The Baggers' newest rider, the Baggers' newest winner. Great job yesterday in terms of what we're going to see in this MotoGP race. Andrea, what can we expect?
So yes, yesterday we enjoy a lot. The category, the bike are incredible, unbelievable. So it's really funny to ride the bike and especially come back here in Mugello for a race. So it's special for me.
now we're waiting the MotoGP start, and so we will see for sure. It will be a really strong race, and but we love everything.
We've seen you fill in on MotoGP bikes before. Is that it? Are you finished with MotoGP, or might you have a surprise in the coming year?
So no, I think so for sure. In full time, I never come back in MotoGP, but never say never. Maybe sometimes possible happen something, and we will see.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. See you later.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to Andrea Iannone, a Moto2 winner here. Of course, he was back in the day in front of his home crowd. The grid awash with Italian legends and icons. There is Andrea Iannone, just a little bit of an embrace with Pablo Nieto. We've just seen 4 times 250cc world champion, Max Biaggi, MotoGP winner, World Superbike champion. Yes, we are chasing you down the grid, Andrea. Loris Capirossi still very much heavily involved, of course, behind the scenes as part of race direction. Marco Melandri's been kicking around, hasn't he, this weekend as well?
Yeah, that's a tyre being ran onto the grid for an Aprilia ride. I don't think that's a change of compound, but we will wait and see. I think that's more just changing an old tyre that he went to the grid with for a brand new tyre to start the Grand Prix with. Well, can Raul Fernandez do the double? He starts from second on the grid. Iagura 13th. Davide Brivio's with Jack.
All day yesterday for Raul for many reasons. He seemed to intimate to us that he might not be with you guys, he might not be on the grids next year. So as a result, is he someone to be feared with nothing to lose, clearly?
No, but no, nobody told to Raul that he won't be with Trackhouse next year. It's just that let's say the renewal didn't really started or negotiate, but that's I mean, it's one of the best options for Trackhouse, I think, to keep Raul. So it's just not confirmed yet.
Yeah, the emotion was obvious yesterday for whatever reason. He wouldn't tell us. So how does he now refocus with obviously a massive opportunity here?
Yeah, I mean, we did yesterday. Yesterday was, I think he did a perfect race. I mean, it was great. Going in front, stay in front for all the race. Of course, we can try again today. It's more difficult. It's a longer race. Everybody on a medium tire, so it's a completely different game today. But okay, here we are, and let's try. Why not?
Good luck. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah, completely different game over the full distance of 23 laps. Another Italian legend, Franco Uncini, 1982 MotoGP world champion. There's a fair amount of Grand Prix world titles currently massed on the grid. We've got a great shot there of the main grandstand. The fans lifting up the colours, the green, white and red of the Italian national flag, the Italian tricolore. Are they going to witness Marco Bezzecchi? He said on Thursday in the pre-event press conference it would be a dream come true to win his home round here in Mugello. Is that dream about to be realised? A dream he's had since he was a schoolboy, when he was knee-high to a grasshopper. It's a dream that he has carried. Well, he's got a great chance of winning in front of his home crowd here in Italy. He starts from pole position.
He's one championship leader. I think gets set to greet another. Marco Bezzecchi is on his way to the grid. That is his bike that Kimi Antonelli is standing by. He'll be racing in Monte Carlo, the streets of Monaco next week. There couldn't be a greater contrast, could there, in motorsport terms? The tight streets of Monaco and the wide open spaces and the eye-watering speeds of Mugello.
Great shot there. Andrea Migno, a former Moto3 winner here in Mugello. Well, he's gone full Italian. He's got the tricolore haircut, hasn't he? He's brilliant. Of course, still very much heavily involved as a spotter and a rider, coach and analyst for VR46 Ducati. What was it here? Was it Enea Bastianini after he won in Misano? Yeah, he did the full Italian national flag hairdo.
If you've got that in your head, you have to win it, which he did.
I'm only jealous. I'm only jealous because I could never do it, of course. Not these days, anyway. So.
Jack Miller making his way. There's the greeting there. Kimi Antonelli greeting Marco Bezzecchi. Let's hear from Pedro Acosta. What can he do from row 4, Jack?
Pedro, tough day yesterday, but we know you're always going to give your maximum on a Sunday and get fighting out there. So what's possible today?
Well, let's see. At the end, long distance, let's see if looks better than yesterday. Let's try to make a good start and better face lap than yesterday, and then let's see where we are.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck. Thanks, Jack, and thanks to Pedro Acosta. Well, we had Laura Bezzecchi yesterday. We've got Silvia Bezzecchi today. So we're going through all the Bez siblings, having the honour of holding the umbrella for brother Marco. That's a special moment, isn't it, for the Bezzecchi family? I'm sure they're all dreaming. They're dreaming already. The fact that Marco Bezzecchi has got himself to the top of the MotoGP World Championship. And then Bastianini, well, his weekend started in such brilliant fashion when he was top 3 here on Friday, and we thought, well, he's going to be in the game for the top 3 throughout the weekend as Massimo Rivola. Respect. Right, about the message maybe. A little tongue-in-cheek there, I have to say, from myself. But yeah, Massimo Rivola just passing on his best wishes for a successful and safe race to Raul Fernandez. Can he complete what would be just the 30th sprint and Grand Prix double win? He'd be the newest rider to do so.
He's got one factory Aprilia to his left and another to his right when he leaves the grid. Raul Fernandez feels like he is very much racing for himself right now, because he's racing for his very MotoGP future. Marquez and the riders, understandably, in these blazing hot conditions, leaving it as late as possible to come back onto the grid with the national anthem and the grid ceremony just under a minute away.
Always a very special moment in the Grand Prix calendar, in front of a packed main grandstand. The Italians, they are passionate about all their sport, but in particular motorsport, on a star-studded grid. Very, very shortly we'll be getting to hear the Italian national anthem ring out. It'll ring out pre-race. Will it ring out crucially post-race? That's the desires for Marco Bezzecchi and the army of 72 Bez fans here, as the riders then come to their positions ahead of the pre-race grid ceremony. Those two, well, they now share the all-time top speed record in MotoGP, top 2 in the World Championship. Ducati won 7, though, of the last 8 Grand Prix here. Can Aprilia create their own headlines here in front of their home crowd? As we pause then for the Italian national anthem.
Fratelli d'Italia, l'Italia se desta dell'elmo di Scipio, se cinta la testa, dove la vittoria le porga la chioma che schiava di Roma, il Dio la creò. Fratelli d'Italia, l'Italia se desta dell'elmo di Scipio, se cinta la testa, dov'è la vittoria le porga la chioma che schiava di Roma, il Dio la creò. Stringiamoci a corte, siamo pronti alla morte, siamo pronti alla morte, l'Italia chiamò. Stringiamoci a corte, siamo pronti alla morte, siamo pronti alla morte, l'Italia chiamò.
Enough to send a shiver down your spine. Marco Bezzecchi keeping as calm as he can. Will he be challenged by his teammate? Will he be challenged by Raul Fernandez? Will he be challenged by the factory Ducatis? Davide Tardozzi's for Jack.
Davide, even you had your phone out there taking a video of that, to be an Italian rider on a Ducati in their 100th anniversary race. What is Pecco Bagnaia feeling right now?
Yeah, this morning he felt very good on the warm-up, but honestly, yesterday had a disaster start. We hope that today will be better. But anyway, we know that with the growing of the temperature, Aprilias are performing a bit better than us. We'll see. Good start will be important, but 22 laps, as usual, is a very long race. So we'll see. On the other hand, Mark is training to be 100% at least in 1 month.
Thanks, Davide. Have a good one.
Yeah, Ducati have been so dominant. Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Davide Tardozzi here, haven't they, in recent years? As mentioned, they won 7 of the last 8 in that period. Fabio Quartararo in 2021, the only rider to topple Ducati on home turf. That is a spectacular shot. It's always magical to come to Mugello. And 2026 has been no exception. A brilliant display by the Aero team, sending out the tricolore colours over the grid. Well, what a day potentially lies in store for Aprilia. What a weekend they've already had. The historic lockout of the front row, the sprint win yesterday, and a top speed record. Let's get the thoughts of the boss, Massimo, really with Jack.
Yeah, it's been some weekend for Aprilia so far. For you, Massimo, to see your 3 bikes on the front row of the grid here at Mugello after the national anthem with the flyover going over, this must be one of the most special moments in your tenure as Aprilia boss.
I don't know if special is the right word. In a way, there is a lot of excitement, but personally, I'm saying super tension, super scared about because we have, you know, when you are in front, you have a bigger responsibility, and here in Italy is double. So let's see. We have the pace. As long as they behave, we can do well.
Marco obviously has the weight, the expectation of a record crowd here. How has he managed it so far this weekend and this morning in particular?
It's not easy for him. He's doing great. He delivered a pole, I would say, almost unexpected. So let's see if he can deliver also a race. So
good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to Aprilia boss Massimo Riva. Yeah, Marco Bezzecchi delivered something out of this world yesterday. He delivered the first ever 143 lap of this Mugello circuit to take that pole position. He has never, though, as you saw on that graphic, had a podium here in Mugello. In MotoGP terms, his best was a 5th in 2022 and 2025. He has got a sprint podium here back in 2023 and a MotoGP front row, his first ever, coming 4 years ago. But he wants the big one. He wants the big prize. He wants to claim a home victory here in front of Mugello to prove that dreams do come true.
And Marc Marquez, as we heard from Davide Tardozzi, perhaps the expectation is that in a month's time he's going to be at the peak of his powers once again, which might lead us to think that Assen or the Sachsenring might be where we see Marc Marquez challenging for that 100th Grand Prix victory in all classes. But I guess today, as he said earlier on in the weekend, he's in a bit of a battle between his head and his heart here. The racing instincts, the natural instincts of Marc Marquez are to go for it, as we saw at the start of the sprint yesterday. But is his body ready to do that?
Fabio Di Gianantonio, 7th on the grid. Tough start to his home Grand Prix weekend when he was laid low by a bit of a upset stomach, a bit of nausea for Digia. He has bounced back brilliantly. His last 5 GPs, well, what a run he is on. 3rd in Brazil, 4th in Austin, 3rd in Jerez, 4th in Le Mans, and of course victorious last time out in Montmello. First VR46 racing rider to win in MotoGP since Bez did it himself at India back in 2023. Probably only the 7th Italian to win back-to-back racing in modern 4-stroke era, joining a club which features names like Rossi, Dovizioso, Bagnaia, Caparossi, Melandri and Bezzecchi. That is some company he hopes to be keeping in what, about 45 minutes time or so, as the grid then starts to clear here under clear blue skies. There's going to be a vociferous atmosphere, a huge noise when the MotoGP bikes peel away from the front of this grid. For the first time in MotoGP history on a Sunday, 3 Aprilias occupy that front row. Jorge Martin then goes from 3rd place. Ralph Fernandez, your sprint winner, is 2nd, but can Marco Bezzecchi, he said it would be a dream to win here in Mugello, will that come true? He's on pole.